So today, Kim Stack will be taking us through the Ramsget Jobs presentation. Kim is an alumna, instructor, and leads the Center for Career and Experiential Education at URI. She's incredibly passionate about preparing students for their professional career path, and has been and is a mentor to so many. So with that, I will hand it over to Kim. Take it away.
Thank you, Kathy. Thanks for bringing us all together today. Welcome, everyone. As Kathy mentioned, my name is Dr. Kim Stack. I am a 3-time graduate of the University of Rhode Island. So yes, I bleed Keene blue. I am also, as you can see here, raising my daughters to be Rhody proud as well. And when I'm not working within the center, trying to identify jobs and internships and service opportunities to help your students launch into that first career, then I'm on the water, the way life should be in this great ocean state of ours. So let me pass the baton to my colleague Audra to have her introduce herself.
I'm Audra. I'm a career education specialist here at URI. I'm also an alum. I was one of those lost souls who left the university and tried to navigate and explored some really cool jobs. So when I work with students and as we develop programming, the employer connection and being aware of this is that transition into workforce, that's always front of my mind. So I really appreciate the chance to give back to the university and just enjoy working with the people I work with.
Thanks, Audra. Let me give a brief overview on what we're doing today. We entitled this Ramsget Jobs, but really that's the short title for this lengthy title, which is we want to help you to help your student take what they've learned, launch into their career, and move out of your home. So that's our goal for you today. How will we do that? First, we're going to share a little bit about where we are placed within the institution. Your favorite topic, which are what are the outcomes for career and experiential learning. Looking a little bit about who is helping your students on this pathway so that you're aware of who they are and how to connect with them and how to connect your student with them, most importantly. And to look at how to help support your students throughout the remainder of their time at the institution. So we in the Center for Career and Experiential Education reside in what's called University College for Academic Success. And our colleagues are the people who are helping your students on a regular basis, like their professional academic advisors who are helping them with intentional course selection, the Academic Enhancement Center who helps with tutoring supports, Writing Center to help them with those challenging papers that they may have, and helps consult with them on some of the topics that are most important for them to succeed in their classes. And then finally, we are connected with orientation and the URI 101 first year seminar course to help support and integrate career education into those classes. So let's talk about that. Next slide, please. The way we partner with academic advising is that we use this cluster modeling. We know that there are certain major pathways that then launch into career pathways. And sometimes students come into the institution who are not yet sure of what they want to major in. So you may have some of those students by your side now. And those students can use this type of sheet to compare, if I was to go into these areas, this could be the potential career opportunity for me, because these are the most often paths. Sometimes it's not clearly recognized, but this is a nice way for us to display it. So our academic advisors and our career education specialists use this together in order to best support our students in a seamless major to career process. Next slide, please. There's a number of different types of experiential learning that are happening at URI, and we have categorized these and framed definitions for them here. The reason that this is important is that we often just use the term internship. Did you get an internship? And that's not the only way to be doing this. For example, if you're a pharmacy student, you're engaged in pharmacy practice. If you're a nursing student, you're engaged in clinical. If you are planning to be a future teacher, then you're engaged in student teaching. So there's a lot of different types. One in particular I want to mention is project-based learning, and that's when some of our local employers will bring projects to our campus, to faculty members, and allow groups of students to work on solving these problems through their classes. This is an excellent way for students to work collaboratively to solve a problem and to use all of the content that they've been building over all of this time in education in something real, a real world project. Let's look next at the numbers on these. So over the course of the last year, you'll see that 6,700 unique students, so that means individual students, were enrolled in some form of experiential learning. So some connected course that had experiential learning connected to it, or they were involved in an internship that allowed them to gain access to credit. Now, this doesn't count those students who just did an internship independently and did not need to use credit for it. Then you'll see that 14,000 number, and that's the number of total majors enrolled. So that means we have double and triple majors who are involved. Overarchingly though, I think it's important to know that there were about 11,000 opportunities that were taken advantage of over that time frame of fall 2020 to summer 2021. And then this lays out for you what were those types of experiential learning. And now you'll see why I wanted you to know that definition of project-based learning, because it absolutely launches our students. We have on the call today over 300 parents with us, which first let me say, I commend you for being involved in thinking about these kinds of things. This is great. Next, I would say to you, if you are an employer and you're thinking about these ways in which your employer can partner with the University of Rhode Island, look at this slide, because I think this is a great way to think about that. It's also a great way to know that your students are involved in so many different types of experiences in the community, not only in Rhode Island, but in the surrounding areas as well. We do offer things like an ITR program that allows our students to do internships anywhere across the country for credit. So they have an online seminar that's connected to it, and that allows them to go anywhere in the United States to do this. So if the student has elective credit, and again, all of these types of experiential learning vary by major. So if your student has experiential or elective credit connected to their major, then that could be something where the ITR program can be helpful to them. Otherwise, they can look at their curriculum sheets. So that's a great key for you too. You have access to the curriculum sheets through the advising website. Look to see where experiential credit fits in. And if it doesn't, they can always do this not for credit as well. One of the most important things that I think family members want to know is whether or not your sons or daughters are being set up for success to go into jobs. And I would say absolutely. We in the center are responsible for administering a survey of recent graduates 6 months after graduation. And typically this is what we're seeing. We're seeing that about 75% of recent graduates are employed within 6 months, and that 15% of them went on to their pursuit of graduate school. That means 90% of them are doing the thing they set out to do upon graduation. And these are just a sampling of some of the organizations that are hiring our students, which I think is amazing. We have great partnerships with so many organizations, but this is a great sampling just to see where they have been going in the past. Let me hand it over to our career education specialist, Audra.
So we're always excited about what we're seeing for results, and we're always strengthening. We want to do both things at the same time. And how this team kind of comes together to support. You've already seen the academic side and where everyone is there to really help the student be successful and feel successful. When it comes to the career education specialist, we're that first line, that direct contact with the student on anything career. So how it's divided up is every single major has a dedicated career education specialist. Even if the person is undecided, we have somebody who is dedicated to that. And in our conversations, I talk a lot about career exploration, people who are trying to figure out, is this the right major for me? I talk to people a lot about the resume reviews and applying for internships. We do salary negotiation, mock interviews, a variety of things. We're always developing different events that we're basing off of the questions and the comments and the things that concern the students. So we're really looking at a variety of things that we can do to make sure that we're supporting what they need and what they're asking for in real time. We all want the students to achieve their goals, whatever it is that they're looking for. And so you have this great support team, and at the same time, the student needs to take advantage of it. We have hundreds of jobs available. We have lots of different opportunities, and we want them there. So having the career events, we have all been living in a very flexible world. So we've offered events both virtually and in person. And for every event that we have coming up, we're planning both. We want to make sure that there's nothing that's slowing down that connection for the student to different opportunities. Handshake is like one of our centerpieces. This is a space, if your student hasn't heard of it, we send out newsletters through it. We host virtual events in it. Students can register for other events in it. Internships, there are hundreds of jobs posted daily on internships and jobs, paid and unpaid. One thing students are never quite sure about is if they can get paid for an internship. They can. We have jobs and internships posted. So this is an incredible platform. This is also a resource for alumni. So if you are an alum, or if you have another child in your household that is an alum, this is a free resource that they can utilize to find employers who are specifically looking for URI students and URI alumni. We have courses. So Kim was just showing you that there's experiential education that's weaved into many courses. And then our department itself has ownership of certain classes. So from the beginning, from that first year, we're connecting with students on career. And in those first connections, what we're doing is talking a lot about career exploration. We are doing assessments. We're trying to get them familiar with our tools, as well as the fact that we exist. We have other classes that are focused on general, let's talk professionalism, all the things that we hear from employers, all the things that we hear from our national networks that students need to have in order to be successful in that soft skill, as well as in the technical navigation. I know we are just about to enter our spring semester, but while we're talking about courses, I will mention we have courses throughout the year, including summer. And while we're just entering spring, soon within a month, the students will be able to register for summer. We have summer courses available, and during the summer, it is you get an in-state rate and it costs a lot less. So that's something for the back of the parent mind. Maximizing LinkedIn. I have a few favorite tools. And like I said from the beginning, for me, it's all about connection. I want people to have as much contact with employers as possible. And I really want you to know who your network is. So I want to show you two things really quick. I'm going to show you LinkedIn because this is my favorite to go to. I use it all the time, and it's available for any school you can look up. But LinkedIn, all I do is search for the University of Rhode Island. Once I do, I get this page, and here I can look at who our alumni are. So almost the last button, and then we have about 95,000 alumni here just on LinkedIn. And I love this because a lot of times students are wondering, I'm doing this major, what do people do with this major when they graduate? How do they build up experience? Who are the employers? Or I'm interested in an agency or a certain organization. I don't even know where to start. Great. This is one exploration tool. And what I can do here, if you're not familiar, it gives you a little bit of those overviews, but I can look and say, you know what? I want to look at somebody like me who graduated in marketing. And if I look at that, I want them to be in my area. I can keep reducing down. find out where they work. I can look at these profiles. People are listed below. I can see what their path was. And I have the opportunity from there to reach out to them and say, I am a URI student. I'm really interested in working at Hasbro. I see you work there. Can you tell me a little bit about your experience? So this to me is an incredible tool. I use it all the time when I'm seeking speakers. So we want students to be connecting with alumni because it feels good. It's a closer connection, and we know that alumni want to invest in the students. So try this out for fun. The other one that we have is URI Career Connect. So URI Career Connect is similar to LinkedIn, but much more specialized. It is all about URI and URI alum. There are about 1,500 mentors on this platform, and they are alumni who have said, I'm here, I want to talk to a student, and you can connect together and request appointments right there through the system. This system offers the job boards, it has the mentors, you set up the one-on-one meetings, and they've also been building a lot of other resources behind the scenes. This is also available to URI alumni and to URI students. Your support. So we know that the biggest thing is you're here, you want to support your student. And what we want to do is share a few ways how, and then after this, we're going to open it up for your questions. So we have plenty of time to answer all your wonderful questions. There's so many different ways to support people. What we're going to do is just identify these top 5. The first one is normalizing the journey. So I had said I have worked in a variety of industries. I've worked in a variety of positions, and that has allowed me to really see the workforce from a few different views. For the last 5 years, I worked with our alumni, and now I've been working with our students. And the thing I consistently see is this anxiousness, this feeling of being behind. I always feel I'm behind. Everyone else has it figured out. Everyone else is so much further ahead of me. And I try to tell people like that can't be accurate because everyone's saying the same thing. But there's a pressure that we put on ourselves, and it's perceived from what's around us. People are guessing, but don't really have the information. So I think the most that we can do is normalize that journey, normalize the exploration. If you are a traditional student and you came to school at 18 years old, there's no real reason you should have all the answers. You should be exploring, you should be doing these projects and these experiential opportunities and these internships to see and feel and start to understand where you navigate. Most adults I talk to still tell me they're still trying to figure out what they want to do when they grow up. So we're all in process. Next, ask how they are connecting with employers. We've supplied some great opportunities, and there's questions and there's things sitting there, but they may not be thinking about it. It's very easy to get wrapped up in, I'm a student and I'm focusing and I'm doing my best. Great. How else are you thinking about bringing this in? Or do you know the questions that are being asked in your industry or what employers are asking for? Can I ask questions of the employers and weave that into my schoolwork? Or am I carving out that time to do a focused internship or informational interviews? Anything that gives us more connection and starts to help us feel like we have a place in that world. Connecting them to your network. Many times I have, especially when we start talking about internships, that students are saying, well, we have a family friend. Great, talk to that family friend. You have people who get anxious about the holidays because they think, oh, I don't have it all figured out. You don't need to, but tell me what your interests are and let me see who in our family, who in our friend network, who in our community has some sort of connection there, and let me introduce you. Of course, knowing our resources. So CCEE, we have a bunch of different stuff. I'm highlighting the favorites. I already talked about Handshake. I use that a lot with students. I also utilize the CCEE A to Z. It's just super easy. Literally A to Z, and a student can say, I'm wondering about internships or cover letters or resumes, and all of it's listed out with links to special learning modules that will really walk them through a process, or little tip sheets that'll highlight it. Lots of great resources. The other one I really love is what can I do with my major? And this one lets students see things from a few different angles of employers as well as, excuse me. Kim, I'll have you take it for a second.
Oh my gosh, I'm happy to. So, what can I do with this major? What students are able to do is to look at individual majors and see, one, what are some of the likely job projections for that particular major? So if I was to go into biology, what are the multiple pathways, the areas in which I could work? And then what I like best about this particular website, which is connected on our website, by the way, under resources. So I can put that link in the chat too. What's nice about this is that you're able to go in and see what kind of strategies can help me to actually persist in that area. So I think Kathy is one of our biggest champions. Audra and I will always tout engaging in experiential learning. That is the way you learn whether or not you like the major, you like these potential opportunities that the major could lead to. So some of the strategies that this website will give you are things like participate in experiential learning, do an informational interview with someone to learn about what their role is. And I often recommend this to our undeclared students. And it works so well for them because they learn, what do I want to do? What do I not like about that? Equally valuable. Different courses to take, intentional course selection, I think, is so important because there are certain skills that no matter which pathway you go down, you're going to want to take on. So those kinds of things are helpful too. And then finally on this list, encourage check-ins with the career education specialist. And in the chat, I'm just about to put the link to the career specialist just so you could find it easily from our website. We did mention in Starfish students, that's the online advising platform. Students have the opportunity to look through there to see their career education specialist mapped to them as part of their success network. But beyond that, you can see it too on our website. Audra, am I handing it back to you?
Yes, thank you all. So the last one and then a bonus being encourage the regular check-ins. I am amazed. I have freshmen coming in who want to map out their entire academic career. And that's exciting to me because, of course, there are certain opportunities that you have to look at a year in advance. There are fellowships and scholarships that are incredible, that have education awards with them, like financial awards with them, as well as just incredibly unique opportunities to study under stellar academics in the field. And then there are really unique employers. Think anything with the federal government, they're looking at a process that usually takes about a year. So encouraging regular check-ins just normalizes once again, and it allows us to say, okay, what else can I be doing? And how else can I be connecting this employer piece in? And of course, we see students throughout all their years, but the sooner the better. Bonus, we are on social media like everyone else. Follow us. You see the different events that are coming up. That's really can be one of your communication streamlines to just reiterate to your student, hey, I saw that there's a career fair. I saw that they're doing an event on internships. I saw that there's a new job posting. There's so many things coming up in the spring, and we're communicating out with them, but our students are receiving tons of communication. So things that you know that your student would be interested in, please feel free to share with them. Once again, Dr. Kim Stack, I'm Audra Lavoie. Here's our contact information, and let's open it up to questions. Kim, what did you see in the chat? Anything we should specifically go back to?
I love it because everyone has got great questions. There's a couple things that are a little bit easier for me to explain. One, though, Audra, that popped up and maybe you can add into the chat is the link for the URI LinkedIn page.
Sure.
Thank you. So a few things that people are asking about. One is the events, and we have a mix of events that are going to take place. Actually, can you pull up are you pulling up our website?
No, I'm back on the other one.
Okay, all right, perfect.
Let me put in the LinkedIn.
So on our website, though, across the top bar, you're going to see a section for events. We don't have our spring events listed yet, but let me explain. We have a mix of different types of events. Yes, and I think you can click on events and see nothing right now. You're welcome, but it is going to be coming up soon, just so you know. Oh, look at this, it's beautiful. But these are oh yeah, no, we do have it up. Look at that.
And they're also in Handshake system. So the student on the student side, they're seeing them.
So our employer relations team is hard at work getting these events going, but hold it 1 second for a minute. Audra, can you show those? So the group was asking, what is the first one that's coming up? The first thing that we're doing, and this is in response to some data that we have, is a salary negotiation workshop in the Women's Center. We see that in early career, sometimes our female students have been paid less than male students. This is a national issue, and we're trying to combat that issue by helping our young women learn how to negotiate their salary right from the start. So it's things like that too that we're offering, where we see a need and we address it. So there's that. There are specific alumni events where we are asking alums to come back to campus to do networking with our students so they can learn what are the possibilities. So if I'm majoring in the humanities, what are all of the possibilities that our humanities graduates have taken advantage of? Which direction did their career path take? And how can I mirror that, echo that, because I've been taking the same kinds of courses, or maybe I had the same instructors. We also have virtual and in-person events right now. So we've been doing a mix of both in order to, one, stay safe, be mindful, but two, not all of our employer partners have been given permission yet to come back to our campus. So knowing that, we're trying to find ways for them to talk. So we have, through the Handshake platform, virtual chats that can take place. We can also set up virtual career fairs where students sign up for a specific time to meet with an employer, either in a small group or one-to-one. And so that's worked out really well. One of our favorite in-person events is the JCPenney Suit Up event. I'm hoping to see all of you there. We usually see about 250 students that night at JCPenney, and they have significant discounts on their first suits. And so it's so exciting to see them, to help them to find the right fit, the appropriate professional clothing to go out for that first interview or their jobs. So that's a lot of fun. So you'll see here a mix of different types of events that are happening over the course of the spring semester. Were you popping up to something else?
I was, well, no, not on this, but I was starting to answer the last question because that's the first one I'm seeing. So one from Karen Murphy, and great question on how do you get feedback from recent employers to make sure course content is preparing students to meet their needs. Yeah. And it's funny because Kathy O'Donnell, our host, one of our hosts, just before this was saying how she was able to give feedback at the Harrington School and really strongly advocate for more employer contact. A lot, and Kim, you can answer this, I think all of our colleges have boards that they look to for feedback, as well as we're getting formal feedback from employers. And so as we're getting that, we keep sharing that. And actually one of the things we're starting right now is an employer advisory board so that we can have a consistent voice and get more and more data to share back.
Sure. We also work through an organization called the National Association for Colleges and Employers, and NACE puts out the top competencies that employers are searching for. And so one of the things that we work with our faculty to look at is how are these competencies being developed throughout the lifetime of the student in that major or outside of that major, because sometimes it's through experiential learning, sometimes it's through on-campus engagement. So they might be heavily involved in certain organizations that are allowing them to develop teamwork, communication skills, interpersonal skills. And our role in the Career Center is to help students formulate that into something that they can put onto their resume or that they can discuss in an interview. So it really brings these things to life, because there's always a misconception for students, is this something that an employer really cares about or not? Would they want to hear about my involvement? And in fact, they do. So this is really, really valuable.
So I have two things I'm going to show. I'm still going backwards, so I'm answering the most recent. But from Jack wondering about, hey, when there's a non-business major, what path would they take? So meeting with us and figuring out who the major is. I know Kim went through that. Major by resources, the A to Z. The A to Z is one that I mentioned. I was talking about what can I do with my major? So you had said science field. I'm going to make you my science field because there's a few of us in science, but that's me. And this, what can I do with my major? I love this. So if I look on it and I'm looking at somebody who we'll say is in the biological sciences, this is everything Kim and I were talking about. Okay, what are the different areas we can go into? And this is terrific because it divides it into sections: research and development, healthcare, the biomedical science. So you see the trend for sections. This stuff is the jobs and those keywords. If I was saying, oh my gosh, what does this field look like today? Let me go on a big search resource like Indeed. The employers, and starting to know this, there's so many paths. And, just like when we talk about career assessments, you can go into an assessment any which way. There's room for all of us in this field. I spend a lot of time working with people to find out what they're interested in and saying, well, let's get a little exposure. So if I am in the science field, sustainability is one of the biggest phrases right now. Students are really interested in sustainability and conservation. So if there's something like that, then I'm going to steer them towards, okay, let's learn more about it. Let's find some company or organization and see where could I potentially fit in, because there's lots of different ways. Big pictures are really helpful, but there's also the hands-on. My child, the second semester senior, hey, what is there still a point in connecting with a career education specialist? Yes, and I'll say this as somebody who's worked with alumni. There's a point in every phase, because in every phase, it feels different. When I'm a freshman and I'm projecting and I'm planning something out years ahead, it is interesting, but it's still a little bit fuzzy. Like it doesn't have that application. When I am a senior and I'm getting ready to graduate and I'm looking and I'm saying, now I have to actually apply, the learning's different. So every phase is helpful. There are also career resources once they transition to alumni. So as an alum, they still have access to Handshake. They have access to the career platform. All of our events, the URI events that we're talking about through CCEE, those are open to alumni. Then alumni and foundation, they have resources too. So they have Kate, who's on our call today. She's the Assistant Director of Alumni Engagement and Career Resources. So you're going to see more programming specifically for alumni, as well as the chance to speak to somebody if you're an alum. So yeah, totally. Please talk to us. We are excited and interested, and we want to see students be successful and alumni be successful.
Audra, can you pull up the link that I put in the chat, which is resources by major?
Maybe.
There
There we go.
Great. What I just wanted to show everyone here as you scroll down is yep, can you go into environment? Yeah.
I just have an interest in this one.
Oh, look at that, career specialist there. So what you can do is you can scroll down on here and you can look at things like marine bio. You can look at different areas in case marine affairs and biology. Just so important to be able to look at this. So you better understand what are the possibilities. And
These
so
are
all
our
of
cheat sheets.
yeah, these are the cheat sheets, but I like these cheat sheets because they're
perfect.
helpful. Yeah, yeah. And what I recommend families is just print these, put these around the house.
It's a new
And
decoration.
the daughter will be forced to look at this. What's the next move?
Somebody had a question about companies that are using AI to read resumes. I've been talking
Sure.
about this for about 10 plus years.
Yeah.
This is something that among our professionals that I often do presentations on about the presence of applicant tracking systems and HRIS systems and what that looks like and how we need to respond to it. So I always say there's two lenses. There's the human lens and a computer lens. So it's definitely something that we're cognizant of. And I personally talk about it all the time when working with a student on resumes. And excuse me, I'm scrolling up and down.
And I'll take one too now. Yeah. I'm looking at a question about resources for students with learning differences, and the same thing that I would say to the first starting point for anyone would be meet with your career specialist. So we have a partnership with our Office of Disability Access and Inclusion, and I think having that kind of support from both lenses is so important at this point in time to identify certain employers who are working best with our students who have high cognitive levels but may have some form of a learning disability, making sure that students know what their rights are when they are on site with some of the employers, making sure that they feel prepared to know a little bit more about the values of the organization going in before they have an interview with them. So again, first step is the career education specialist, and that's why we've spent more time on that, because we want to make sure that your child can connect with them.
And we're trying to what Kim is saying, each one of the career education specialists has other areas we liaise to. So we're hoping students may make it to us. They're mapped to us in Starfish. We're going into classrooms. We're working with faculty. We're creating events. We're messaging them regularly. And then we're also working with student clubs and organizations, Greek Life, student veterans, some of our specialized programs to make sure that we're going wherever the student is most comfortable, and we're working in partnership with those that they have good relationships already established.
One of the questions that popped up too was about Handshake and being able to log in and access that and view that. So the students have access to Handshake, and then faculty and staff have access. So you wouldn't be able to walk through, but I would recommend that you're with your student to look through what the possibilities are. So when you go through the Handshake platform with them, you can see when they search for jobs, they can search particular criteria. They could set up opportunities to meet with employers through here. They can register for events through here. But it's really a matter of them going to it, you know. If you want to set that as their desktop background when they get home and that's the first thing they see, that might help, you know.
And this is what the student will see when they look at Handshake. So there's the job section, and that's jobs and internships. And just like other job boards, it's pretty easy to navigate. So let's put in accountant. I'm looking for an internship. And I want it to be part-time. I want it to be in Providence area. So as I go through, I can keep narrowing this down. And those events, we have our events on it, which you can see. This Handshake is a great system that extends the network. So we find our employers really like it because they can connect more easily, but also there's things that are extend past us. So if Google is hosting one or the EPA is hosting an event, they'll be able to post events for students too.
There was a question about whether or not first-year students should be doing internships, and the answer is really this. Our students are at all different developmental levels, and if the student feels like the internship provides the right level of rigor, then I would say, sure. I really do. It depends on the major though, because having some understanding of the content is really important before you're launching into like an engineering internship or a computer science internship. So those, I would say, just be thoughtful of that, help your student to navigate that. There's ways to scaffold it. Like we've had students come in and I'd say, what's your internship dream? And they'll say, I want to work in television and I'm going to be in this particular show. I'm like, well, okay, but before you go to this show, let's start with this show so that we continue to scaffold and it's not like moving from 0 to 60 before they really know what the speed of 40 feels like. And we're here as those professional coaches on that end to help them to navigate that. But we want to make sure that they're prepared and ready.
And if you have somebody who is that freshman that I've worked with that's a big planner, this is one of my new favorite resources. It's not a new resource, but it's my new favorite. Because for those who are really interested, there's so many opportunities. And once again, these are opportunities that are a year process. There's details and they have to complete applications and there's someone who's going to work with them. And so it'll take a while, but for those planners, this is amazing because now they can feel like they're working towards something. So I always want to, like, if you're motivated and you want to, let's capture that energy and keep going on.
There's a few additional things that are great resources that our career specialists use, like BLS.gov or Occupational Outlook Handbook. If you've not played on BLS or Occupational Outlook Handbook, because honestly, why would you? Try it just so that you can look up some salary ranges in case you're curious. I also recommend the website Glassdoor because people will post some of those salary ranges just so that when a student goes in for their first interview, we want them to have a knowledge base of, okay, an accountant at Pricewaterhouse with this much experience, who said that they had about that much experience, said that the salary was here. So they just have an idea of which, that organization is paying. So keep that in mind too. But using something like ONET that Audra has up on the screen right now, you can put in any occupation. So yeah, let's just look at social worker. And then once you go in, you can pick which area you want to look at. So if your student is saying, I want to work in XYZ, so healthcare social worker, you can see what kind of tasks would they be responsible for, technology would they need to know. And those are the types of conversations we have here where we'll say, if this is saying this is the type of technology you need to understand, we want you to try to learn it in your internship or other in your job if you're doing something part-time with an organization. We also want them to recognize, here's the reality of the job. So here are the tasks involved. Here is the type of education it takes. So if it requires additional education, are you ready for that? Do we need to look at something else because that's not exactly what you want? Also, where are the jobs located? So if you know you want to stay in the Northeast and this is something that is a really hot commodity in Texas, then, are you willing to move? These are questions. Oh, who is my marine biology friend in this group? We once had a student who said, I really want to live in the middle of Texas and become a marine biologist. How do you think I can make that happen? So these are the fun challenges that your students present us with on a regular basis.
I'll add to ONET because I use this
Please.
resource all the time to compare with resumes and say, all right, let's make sure your resume is using the language. I use it to say, if you're going to do a job search, we don't have universal language. So if I'm looking at social worker, I could be a social worker, or it could be the psychological coordinator, or it could be a case manager, or I could be that healthcare caseworker. Like, there's so many terms. This I love because it gives you terms. Then at the bottom of most of them, not all of them, there's a section on related occupations. This is super helpful too, because if you go, well, I like it, what else? Or I like it, but I'm not sure I want to devote that amount of time to education. And we do talk to students often about graduate school. So that is something for people who want to plan things out. But you can see the jobs that are related to it, which is great. For somebody who has a military history, they can see and go through some resources here as to how do I translate that experience. There's also just some fun assessments. So lots of things that I enjoy. On Glassdoor, they also have an area for questions, meaning questions that are asked in an interview. And that's another area, like we see, especially now, we're all extra anxious. Students are extra anxious. As many things that we can do to feel like there's lots of different versions. We're not going to have all the answers, but you can feel prepared by seeing examples and try to ease a little bit of the frustration. To what Kim was just saying about trying to see where things are popular. This is another one of my fun resources. It's just for fun, but it will tell you if I say, oh, I am really interested in microbiology. It tells you the amount, who's hiring microbiologists in different states. And I love this resource because it also feeds into if somebody's trying to make connections or if you're just trying to know what employers are out there. So this is just a fun one too. You all have terrific questions. Thank you.
No, I would, really wrap it up by saying there's not going to be one right path and there's not one right answer here, but it is a process of trying to develop relationships with your students and really getting to know them, and even more importantly, helping them to get to know themselves. And so we spend a lot of time on assessment work with students to think about, and we use things like Type Focus, which is like a Myers-Briggs platform. We use something called My Majors to even help them determine what that right major is for them if they're still uncertain. We use Gallup Strengths to look at what are your top 5 strengths and how could those fit into a number of different types of roles moving forward. We also use a platform called Values in Action. So I say that because students getting to know themselves, that's pretty much the journey of college. And we're here on that path with them in, I think, the most exciting time. Now, when they're really ready to launch into what's the next step. So I want to say on behalf of both Audra and I, thank you so much for your time today. We appreciate it. We've enjoyed all of your questions. This is very energizing for us to do this with you. And let me pass this back to Kathy, who was so gracious to bring us all together and ask for this presentation to happen.
Great. Thank you so much, Kim and Audra. That was a terrific presentation. And I was monitoring the chat as everything was going as well. And I think there's some really thoughtful questions in there. And hopefully we'll have addressed all of the questions with some answers by the time this is over. You'll see some more information here on this slide about the Parents Council. Thank you to all the council members who joined us today as well on the call, as well as all you parents. As the parent of a graduating senior, I feel all your angst and then some, and I feel like I learned a lot today that will really come in handy as I call Charlie at the end of this call and tell him all the wonderful resources available to him that I'm sure he's only partially aware of on his own end. Certainly it takes the student taking that next step and doing, going into the career services office, making an appointment, utilizing all of the resources that are a click away And Audra, especially that LinkedIn drill down, that was really, really insightful. I didn't even realize that was a thing. So if any of you on the call today, would like to engage or learn more about the work of the council, Jenny's contact information is right there on the slide, and you can outreach to her, and we're happy to have more folks join our council and share their insights. We like to connect students, if we can, with internship opportunities, and have parents kind of give their perspective on how their students are experiencing the university. And no question is off topic. So thank you all again, Jenny and John Garcia. Thank you for your partnership in helping pull all of this together. We appreciate it. And the replay will be available. I think you all saw that in the chat from Jenny as well. And please share it with your student and other parents you may know who could benefit from the information.